Hi guys, welcome. This is Ellie from Optimize My Airbnb listing. Today we're lucky to have Brian from Hospitable with us. He'll be giving us a presentation for this PMS software, and then we'll have our Q&A. If you have any questions in the meantime, you can always write them in the chat, and then if Brian sees that he's able to answer them right away, he will. If not, he'll wait until the end. Brian is with us from Hospitable. Hi, Brian. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Ellie. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the time. So like Ellie said, I'm with Hospitable. Hospitable is a PMS software. We help you automate and manage the day-to-day operations of your rental business. I'm sure most of y'all are familiar with PMS software. So what I'd like to do is we're going to do a demo of the software, kind of show you the overview of everything that Hospitable has to offer, and then do a Q&A after. If you have questions, like Ellie said, you can go and throw them in the chat, and if I can get to them during the demo, we can do that, or afterward, we can definitely get to them. I'd also like to know, if you wouldn't mind, if you want to share this information, if you're currently using a PMS system, just put it in the chat. I'd kind of like to get an idea of what everybody's using currently. That might be kind of helpful. But let me do this. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. One second. Are y'all able to see my Hospitable screen?
Yes, we can see it now.
Great. Okay. I appreciate it. We don't use Zoom on a daily basis at Hospitable. We use a different software. So I'm kind of Zoom challenged. So I appreciate that. So this is the dashboard when you log into Hospitable. So this is going to kind of show you an overview of what's going on with your rental business. So it's people checking into the properties, anybody checking out, and any tasks associated with the rental properties. And just so you guys know, this is my live Hospitable account. I'm also a host. I've got 10 properties in Georgia. So this is what the software would look like if you were using Hospitable for your own rental properties. So we've got a unified inbox. The unified inbox is going to show you all of your guest conversations from all the booking channels we connect to. So we connect to Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking.com. And then we have a direct booking website that will pull conversations in from email to show within the inbox here. So you'll have all the guest conversations from all those different platforms within your inbox in Hospitable. We'll go into a guest conversation. And Alexis, unfortunately, I had to cancel her reservation a little while ago, but she was great. But you'll kind of see the guest conversation. It sort of looks like an Airbnb conversation, and we kind of wanted it that way. Airbnb's got a great platform, kind of pattern some of the things that we do after them. So you'll see the conversation with the guest. You'll see reservation information. So you'll see details about the guests, when they're checking in, what time they're checking in, what time they're checking out. These are dynamic fields. You can change these at any point in time. That will actually change the message settings. So if you have a scheduled message going out sometime around the check-in or checkout times, editing the check-in and checkout time will change that field or change those messages. And also it's going to edit your smart lock. So if you have a smart lock connected to Hospitable, and we'll get into that in a little bit, then changing the check-in or checkout times will edit the time that that lock is actually active for the property. So those are dynamics. You can change those. You'll see where that reservation falls in your calendar. You'll be able to create guest access for smart locks. Again, we'll talk about that in a little bit more, but you'll have a smart lock code created here. And then you'll see all the guest conversation that's scheduled for the future for this guest, and any tasks associated with this reservation as well. Let me actually go back to a different reservation. It might be a little easier to see. So here's another guest, Kyle, that's staying with us. So Kyle is an active reservation. So you can see the smart lock access here. This is Kyle's code. I can see that it's active. He's actually used it on the lock. These are the messages that have gone out to Kyle. Any message in the future, if I want to change it, I can edit it here. So I can change information about the message. I can delete it if I don't want the message to actually go to Kyle. So there's options for customizing the messaging before it actually goes out to the guest. And then you'll see any tasks associated with that stay here. And that most likely is going to be a cleaning task, could be a maintenance task, pest control, trash, anything that somebody helps you with on a day-to-day basis with the property. For all reservations, you'll see this property details pane on the right, and this will show you key information about the property and about this reservation. So you'll see all the financial details about that stay. So it's just the inbox and the conversation with the guest is a great way just to see everything about this guest and their reservation within your Hospitable platform. Uh, the calendar is also a unified calendar. So it's going to be all your reservations on Airbnb, VRBO, booking.com, and any direct booking reservations as well. So the reservations are color coded. So Airbnb is this green color, VRBO is a light blue, booking is a darker blue, and then direct bookings are this reddish pink color, this hospitable color. So you'll be able to visually see everything in the calendar, understand, what reservation is coming from which platform, and then you can edit the calendar as well. So you've got availability and pricing rules built into our system that you can change within the calendar here. So this property is available for the next few nights. If I want, I can go in and edit the nightly rate. So I can make a change here, and that's going to change on Airbnb and VRBO and booking.com as well if I was on those channels with this property. But making changes in the calendar is just a great way to edit your pricing, edit your nightly rate, or edit your nightly stay restrictions, edit your availability, and then have it push out to all different platforms. You can also see information about the reservation. So for instance, Kyle, that reservation we were just taking a look at, here's him in the calendar view. So you can see a lot of the same information here with all of those scheduled messages, the details about the stay with all the financial data we were just looking at. So it's just a really great way to see at a quick glance information about a reservation and a guest. We can go to a single property calendar view is a little bit different. So it's going to show you more of a month view instead of that linear view that we saw with the multi-calendar view. So if you only have one property, this is the view you would see. Same functionality. So you can still click on the guests, see information about their reservation. You can edit the pricing rules, the availability, your minimum stay. You can create what's called manual reservations or direct bookings within the calendar here. So if you get a guest that reaches out to you via, let's say, email or social media, or it's a friend or a family member that wants to book the property, whether you're charging them or not, you can create a manual booking from the calendar. So this is a really neat feature. A manual booking will create a reservation very similar to an Airbnb, VRBO, or booking.com reservation that will block the calendar on all those connected sites. It will create the guest messaging. It'll create the tasks for the calendar. So cleaning tasks, check-in tasks, handyman, maintenance, anything that you have for any guest reservation. It'll create a lock access code for the guest if you're using a smart lock, and it'll block off the calendar on all those connected channels. Add a direct booking is a similar feature, but it's got a payment link associated with it. So this is a way we can create booking links within the system so you can send the guest a quote for a specific reservation and they can pay securely from their end, from their computer. And it's the same functionality. It's going to create a reservation, block off the calendars on all the connected channels, create tasks, create lock codes. But it's a way to create a reservation that's kind of away from the OTA. So nothing associated with Airbnb, VRBO, or Booking.com. You're trying to create your own business and create your own reservations in the calendar. Guest experience is where all the automated communication rules reside within Hospitable. So this is how Hospitable was started. It was started as an automated communication tool a number of years ago. So this is a really robust feature of our software. So the main feature is the messaging rules. So this is has two different functionalities to it. So it's event-based messaging and it's scheduled messages around the reservation. So event-based messages typically are something that is guest-driven. So the guest saw your property on the list or on the OTA, they instant booked, they canceled their stay, they're having a payment issue. Any of those events, we can send messages automatically to that listing or to that guest on that booking channel. Schedule messages are a little bit different, but similar. It's an automated message that's going to send to the guest around the reservation. So it's any information you want to communicate to the guest before, during, or after their stay. So most likely this is going to be check-in instructions, checkout instructions, lock access, so how they get in the property, maybe asking for a review after the guest is checked out of the property, sending them restaurant recommendations before they check in. Really anything that you want to give your guests before, during, or after their stay, you would use using a scheduled message or do using a scheduled message. We can also send messages on any given day of the week. So this comes in really handy specifically with trash pickup. A lot of hosts use it for that. So if you have a trash pickup on a specific day and you want to ask your guests to take out that trash for you, you can have a message set up to ask that guest maybe the night before to take out the trash so that it gets picked up the next morning. We can also detect specific questions in the messages and then automate responses to that guest based on some information that you've put in our system. So this is an AI feature we have built in, and you can see the topics that we can detect here. The most popular ones for most hosts are, and you can probably pick some out that you would really want to utilize for your guests. Early check-in, late checkout, Wi-Fi, parking, discount is pretty popular these days. So if we detect one of these questions, we'll create a message, or we'll create a response for that guest based on information you've put in our system. So let's just imagine for a second that you've got a guest that messages you. They want to work remote for a couple of weeks, and they want to make sure that you have good Wi-Fi at the property. We'll detect that question. And then if you've created the response in our system, we can let that guest know that you have great Wi-Fi, you have a dedicated workspace, and you have a coffee maker set up in the office so that they can, you know, work all day and all night and not be bothered by anybody else in the property. So this is a really neat way to automate, answers to questions the guests may have, save you time because you're not creating these responses every time. And we're getting the guests the information when they need it because we're automating the response right after we detect that question. So the question and answer section is a really neat feature. We've got an Airbnb review feature built into our system, so we can automate all the Airbnb reviews for your property. So this is a pretty cool time saver for most hosts. So what we've got is we've got 7 review rules built into the platform for you. What I recommend is turning all of them on. And what we'll do is we'll randomly choose a review and we'll post it to that guest profile on Airbnb after a certain time threshold. So with these messages, you can see they're sent to go to Airbnb 3 days after checkout. So 3 days after checkout, I've been able to know that the property is clean. My cleaner has notified me that everything is fine. They haven't stolen anything. They were good guests. So I know that this review can go to Airbnb after 3 days. And I know what some of you are probably thinking, like, what if it's not a good guest, right? Like, what do we do in that case? So you'll see the pending reviews here in the system. So you'll always have the ability to edit a review before it actually posts to Airbnb. So you've got that time, that window of however many days you set for the review. So 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 days that will post that review to Airbnb for you. You can go in and you can edit the review. You can give them a thumbs down. You can edit their star rating. You can post what's called a bad review in our system. So the bad review feature will actually wait to post the review to Airbnb until the 14-day review window is almost up. So every guest has 14 days to post a review about the host, and you have 14 days to post a review about a guest. So what we don't want happening is your guest posting a review in Airbnb within that 14-day review window because you've already reviewed them. So they give you a negative review thinking that you've given them a negative review. So we can cut down on that by using our bad review feature, cut down on the retaliatory reviews. So that's a neat feature built within Hospitable. Custom codes is a way to create specific messages that are only for a small subset of your guests. So this is a pretty cool feature. I use this a number of ways. We'll kind of run through a couple of these. I have a couple of units that are pet friendly and some that are not pet friendly. So this message is only going to send to reservations that have a pet listed on the reservation. So if a guest is bringing a pet and they've listed that on the reservation, they're paying my pet fee, they're going to get some pet instructions within my check-in instruction message. If a guest does not have a pet listed on their reservation, they're not going to get the pet instructions. So it's a way to give certain information to only the guests that need that information. Another way I use this is by upselling early check-ins and late checkouts. So I always message my guests before they check in and right before they check out to let them know that the property may be available for them to check in a little bit early, and then they can pay me a small fee to check in or check in a little bit early or to check out a little bit late. And we can tell that based on the calendar availability within Hospitable. So if my calendar has the availability where the night before check-in is available, the system will automatically message the guest and let them know if they want to add an early check-in. They can go to my online store and they can pay for an early check-in. Same thing with an early checkout. So this is a great way to add a little bit more revenue, create more money for yourself every month, and ultimately give the guest a little bit more of an experience. So they want to come a little bit early, you can let that happen and then earn a little bit more from it. There's a feature called canned responses within Hospitable as well. A canned response is a message that you can send off manually from the inbox if it meets certain criteria. So for instance, I have one property that has a garage door. I don't give everybody access to that garage door. but I have a code or a code created for the garage door so guests can access it if I want to let them have that access. So the guest that's staying at that property right now, he hasn't asked me for the garage door code, so I haven't given it to him. But if he does, I can just click this canned response button and then click that canned response. It's going to populate that within the message, and then I can send it off easily with one click. So a canned response is a message that you can send off easily from the inbox without having to type the whole message out. Another one that I use quite often, we get guests messaging us, they say, thank you for letting us book, or thank you for the stay, thank you for the information. And instead of having to type out a message every time that says, you're welcome, let us know if you have any questions, I've got a canned response that says that exact same thing. So we just, thank you, very welcome. Let us know if you have any more questions. So it's a way to just create messaging really quickly without having to do it manually. We also have a feature built into the inbox here. It's a chat GPT integration. So where it says suggest with AI, this is a chat GPT integration where we can create some messaging based on something the guest has messaged you about. So I'll go back out and I'll find a message. So this guest had booked one of our other properties. I can click suggest with AI here. It's going to create a message for that guest based on their last response. And then I can read that message. If it makes sense, I can, send the message. I can improve it. If it doesn't make sense, I can click the improve with AI and it'll create a new response for me, just like ChatGPT does. So this is a great way to create messaging really quickly for your guests. You're not doing it manually. It's probably going to sound nicer. This one definitely sounds nicer than what I would have written manually to Kevin. So it's just a great way to create a really nice guest experience, automate as much of it as possible, save you some time. Going into the operations section, this is where we're going to have your cleaners, handyman, pest control, lawn maintenance, virtual assistant, co-host, anybody who helps you on a day-to-day basis with the properties, we can set them up in operations. So first thing we're going to want to do is create a teammate. A teammate is somebody that can get automated notifications via text or email, and they can also get tasks assigned to a calendar. So the most common teammate is a cleaner. So we can set up your cleaner as a teammate, assign them to your property. Once we've done that, we can set up some automated notifications for your teammate. This is very, very similar to the guest notification. So we can notify them that there was a specific event. So the most common, a new reservation, a cancellation, or an alteration. So if the guest wants to change their stay, they say they want to check in early or check out a day late, we'll send that alteration message. If they want to cancel altogether, we can send your cleaner a notification that the guest has canceled their stay and they don't need to clean that property anymore. We can also schedule reminders around the check-in and checkout times. So this is a great way to notify your cleaner around that checkout time that they have a cleaning to do today at this specific property at this specific time. So it's just kind of a last minute reminder, letting somebody know that they have something to do for you at the property. And there's ways within these messages to include that custom code feature we were looking at. So I've got a custom code that is called same day turnover. So what this does is it will notify my cleaner that their cleaning is ready to begin. And second, that if there is a same day check-in at this property, it will let them know that information so they know to prioritize this cleaner ahead of any other cleanings they have to do that day. So it's just a great way to give your cleaner information that they need to know to make sure that they clean the property, it gets cleaned on time. And you can include other information in here. You can let them know about the next stay. The next stay is checking in on this specific day. There's this many guests in the reservation, that sort of information. So there's ways to customize these messages using the custom codes and the short codes that we have in the system. We can also create tasks for your cleaners in the calendar. So a task is going to get created for, typically an after checkout cleaning task is going to get created whenever a new reservation is made. We can also create recurring maintenance tasks, which is pretty helpful, especially if you're using something like smart locks. You can create maintenance tasks to change lock batteries every so often, change air filters, pool maintenance, hot tub maintenance, anything that you have to do on a recurring basis, you can set that up using a recurring maintenance task. And then we can automatically assign these to specific people on your team. So it's a way to, send people tasks, send people notifications. We can also share calendar access with them. So we've got a feature called user management where we can share calendar access with your cleaner or anybody else that you want to have access to your property and your calendar. Give them access to the specific units that they're going to be managing for you or helping you with, and then the specific feature. So for this right here, the calendar view is probably the most basic view within Hospitable, but this is really all your cleaner would need to manage their cleanings for you. So this would be a view only mode of your calendar, so they can see the calendar, see the check-ins, see the checkouts. They'll be able to know how many guests are staying in each reservation, if they're bringing children, if they're bringing pets. So they'll know everything about that reservation for you so that they know exactly what they need to do on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis for your property. So this is a great access for your cleaner. If you have a virtual assistant that's helping you with certain things, let's say messaging, you can give them access to the inbox so they can message all your guests. If you have a property manager, you can give them access to everything. If you have a partner, spouse, anybody you want access, you can give them their own specific access as well. It's just a way to customize the access a little more than what Airbnb offers as co-hosts. And keep in mind, this is connected to every other listing that you've got. So this is VRBO, Booking.com, direct bookings, as well as Airbnb. So it's a great way to give people access to seeing all of that, all the reservations, all the conversations, everything within Hospitable that's connected to all those listings. Metrics is an area of the software where we can see how your properties are performing over a specific time frame. So we can see, let's just check this out. We'll do last month, kind of see how my properties perform. So you'll see filter is check-in was last month, and you can see total revenue, occupancy, length of stay, average nightly rate, different metrics that might be important to you or anybody on your team so you can keep track of how your properties are performing. You'll be able to see a breakdown of where all of your reservations come from. So that would be Airbnb. For me, I'm not on booking.com, but booking.com would be in here if you're on booking.com as well. Airbnb, VRBO, manual, direct bookings. You can see revenue by those channels, so how that breaks down versus bookings. And then you can see a detail view, which is going to show you all of the financial view for each reservation. And you can download this information at any time. So this is a pretty robust spreadsheet with a lot of information about the financials and how it breaks down for your properties. But most hosts use this. They give it to their accountant. They upload it to QuickBooks, or they use it to create some sort of statement that they have to create on a monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis. But you'll be able to change these filters. You can filter it by booking channel, filter it by property. You can add tags to properties. So I add tags to specific properties for neighborhoods, for bedroom counts. So you can see, let's just check this out and see how my one bedroom is performed last month versus the other properties. So you can create different views. You can save views and recall them really easily in the metrics section. So it's just a really nice way to bring up how your properties are performing and see in a visual way how everything was the last month, the last year, the last week, whatever time frame you're searching for. You've got a tax report as well. So you'll be able to see what taxes were collected for your rentals, what was actually remitted to the booking channel or remitted to the state for you or city for you, and then what was sent through you. So what is a pass-through tax? So that's a tax that was sent to you as the host. So you'll be able to see what came to you versus what actually was sent to the local authorities for you. We've got a review report. So you'll be able to see how your properties have performed over the last time frame that you're filtering. And then what are your areas of opportunity? So if you notice that your overall score went down, you can check here and you can see what exactly was impacted by that score. Was it cleanliness? Was it location? Maybe it was check-in process. So you can optimize your check-in process a little bit more. So this is just a great way to be able to see how your properties have been performing over the previous time frame, and then make some adjustments, whether that's communicating with your cleaners or editing some things within your listing to make sure that you're setting the right expectation with people so you get those 5-star reviews. We can connect to Airbnb. I think I said this a couple of times, Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking.com. There's no limit to the number of accounts you can connect to us. So if you're doing any sort of co-hosting, or if you have multiple Airbnb accounts that you want to connect to us, or VRBO or Booking.com, you can connect all those to us. There's no limitation there. So we can have everything within one account within Hospitable. The devices dashboard. This is a new feature for us, and this is really neat. So this goes back to the smart lock feature that we were discussing a little while ago. So we can connect to a number of different smart locks. So we'll go back here. So we can connect to August, Schlage, Yale, Nuki, and Igloo home lock systems. And then we also connected Jervis, Remote Lock, and SmartThings. These are systems that can automate multiple different lock systems. But if you use a lock that can connect to our system, you'll connect the app to Hospitable. And then once you've connected the app, we'll create codes for every reservation for every guest that comes through the property. So with the device dashboard, what you'll see is every code that was created, whether it's been used by the guest, when it's active, so when it starts and when it ends. You'll be able to see the device dashboard, so you'll know what is the connectivity of each one of your locks, what's the battery level of each one of your locks. So you'll be able to tell, like this property right here, I have a guest staying there currently. I need to change this lock battery. So there, in the next couple of days, I probably need to get over there and do that. So it's a great way visually to see how the locks are currently, what's the current status of your lock, so you know how to maintain them. If you notice that the lock isn't online anymore, that lock cannot create new codes. So you'll need to make sure that you get that lock back on the Wi-Fi before we can create some new codes. And then we can create manual codes for your cleaners or anybody else that you want to create a manual code for in the system. So this is a really neat way to create custom codes for cleaners, handyman, pest control, lawn maintenance, anybody that needs to get access to the properties. We do integrate with a number of different tools. So we talked about smart locks. We've got a few different accounting features that we integrate with. So Clearing and VR Platform are really great platforms for automating accounting. We've got a number of dynamic pricing tools we integrate with. So obviously, Price Labs, RankBreeze, and Wheelhouse are the big ones. Or excuse me, Price Labs, Wheelhouse, and Beyond are the big ones. But then RankBreeze, DPGO, Buoy, and RateGenie are other nice software that you might want to integrate with to do dynamic pricing. We've got a couple different guest portal integrations with DAC and charge automation, AutoHost and SuperHog to do guest verification if that's something you have to do for your properties. Home automation, this is the smart lock that we went through a second ago. Marketing, we integrate with MailChimp to collect guest emails and then send that to a MailChimp mailing list for you. So that's a great way to get started doing email marketing. And then StayFi is a Wi-Fi, it's a mesh Wi-Fi network that you can collect guest emails in the property. So that's a really cool way to collect more emails than just the primary guest who booked the reservation. You can collect as many guests' email addresses as are staying at the property. So if you have a large property that maybe can host 10 to 15 people, using a StayFi system might help you get more guest emails each reservation so that you can start email marketing to all those guests. So that's a neat feature. Guest monitoring, so Alertify and Minute, really neat monitoring tools. Operations, we integrate with Breezeway, Turno, Cleanster, and Resort Cleaning to help you do a little bit more with your cleaning team if you want. Turno is free to use if you want to integrate Turno with Hospitable. So the difference between our operations section and Turno, just so you guys know, within Turno, your cleaner can upload images of things. They can track stock of items. They can complete tasks. They can accept and decline tasks. You can have a primary and a backup cleaner, and you can pay your cleaner via Turno. Our system doesn't offer that. Our system is very straightforward with one cleaner for a property or multiple cleaners for a property, multiple cleaners for multiple properties. But Turno is a little bit more nuanced and has some more robust features. And again, that's free to use if you want to use that with our system. And then we integrate with a company called Owner Center to do creating like an owner portal or owner statements if you're doing any sort of like property management. The last feature we'll kind of go into is a direct booking feature. So this is a big feature for us over the last year. We created a direct booking platform that has integrated payment processing, guest screening, and damage protection. So with the direct booking system at Hospitable, we can be your payment processor with no extra percentage fees associated with it for you. We can screen all of your guests through a tool called AutoHost, and we can provide $5 million of damage protection for each reservation. And then that guest is essentially just like every other guest. So they book through the direct booking website. It automates in our system. They get guest communications. Lock access gets created for them. The cleaner gets notified. It blocks off the calendars on Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com. But that money belongs to you now, right? So it's a much more economical way for the guest to book because it's typically going to be cheaper for that guest to book direct, and it's going to save you money over paying Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking.com their fees that you have to pay as the host to book on their channel. There's some features along with this that are pretty neat. So we've got a Google Vacation Rental integration. So we can push your listings out to Google Vacation Rentals. So you'll be able to add a fourth channel. You can market on Google. So if you go to your city vacation rentals in Google search, you'll see you're really close to the top. You'll see all the vacation rentals that are in Google Vacation Rental search. So this is a new up and coming way that guests are searching for vacation rentals. When a guest sees your listing on Google, they're going to click on your website, which is going to take them to your Hospitable direct booking website. And then they're going to book direct through you, put in their credit card details, and then now that's your guest instead of that guest going to Airbnb or VRBO. So that's a really neat feature. With the direct booking website, you can add a custom domain if that's an option you want. We have multiple templates, so design options for creating a direct booking website. So you can choose a template that matches your style or the theme of the property. You can add a logo if you have a logo for the property or your business. You can add custom images or text to the main page of the site. And then we'll pull in the property information from Airbnb. So you're not actually going to create listing pages in Hospitable. We'll create them for you using your Airbnb listing. So when you create a site in our system, it's going to be very fast, very simple. It'll probably take you about 10 or 15 minutes to create everything. And then the site will be live. Then you can push it out to Google Vacation Rentals and start getting rentals that way. So it's a really great way to automate direct bookings, create an easy, fast direct booking system for yourself, and it's pretty low cost. Direct bookings is an add-on feature. It's either $5 or $8 per month per property for you as the host. So it's a really economical way to start taking direct bookings. Woo! So Ellie, I think that was kind of the broad overview of everything. I know we're going to do a kind of a Q&A. What questions do we have?
Someone was asking on Facebook about Google Vacation, but you just said that it does integrate.
It does. Yep. So that's right here. So we integrate with Google Vacation Rentals. So you can see in the dashboard in Hospitable. So all my properties are listed on Google. You'll see an overview of how the properties have been performing on Google. So in the last 30 days, I've gotten 120 impressions, 9 actual click-throughs, and no bookings. The last 30 days, the previous 30 days, I had 3 reservations that came through Google. So this is down a little bit. But it's a way to push your listings out to Google and see how those listings are actually performing. And we give you the option to view the listing on Google. So you can click on each one of these tabs. It's going to pull up your Google Vacation Rental listing. So you'll see a live view of how that listing is performing online on Google.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, thank you for your presentation. It was very, very good. And I
Great.
see how Hospitable is really built. You can tell that it was built first for messaging and then it grew to something really, really special. Another question that I received from a private member, they wanted to know what was the difference between you had mentioned that there's 2 different monthly for the websites. They wanted to know what are the difference between the two.
Good question. So the difference in the 2 direct booking systems is one is a basic version, one's a premium version. So the basic version, I like to equate more of a do-it-yourself direct booking system that is really geared toward hosts who have been doing direct bookings before, have systems in place for managing direct bookings, and are comfortable doing it on their own. So that direct booking system, you connect a Stripe account. So Stripe's the payment processor we work with. You connect your Stripe account to Hospitable. So you manage the payment from start to finish. If there's a cancellation or a refund, you're responsible for refunding that guest the money. There's no guest screening. There's no damage protection. So if you want to have systems in place to manage guests, to screen guests, to provide damage protection, then you would add those in addition to like on the side for Hospitable. So we integrate with companies called Superhog, AutoHost, Safely, things like that. So you can provide screening and damage protection for the reservations if you'd like. It's not included in the basic version. So it's more geared toward hosts who have been doing direct bookings, who want total control over the payment processing to manage that money from start to finish. All the features of Hospitable are still the same. It's just or direct bookings, I should say. So you'll still have access to Google Vacation Rentals. You'll still have access to everything that you see on the screen. The only 3 things that are different are how the payment is processed. We don't screen your guests, and we don't provide damage protection for your reservations. The premium version is $5 per month per property, so it's actually cheaper for the host to. Let me backtrack for just a second. The basic version is $8 per month per property. We charge the guest nothing. So the guest pays 0 when they book your property. For base or for premium, it's $5 per month per property. So it's a little bit cheaper for you as the host. And then the guest pays a 6% plus $10 fee whenever they book a stay. So there's a small guest fee, but it's cheaper for you as the host. Most guests are used to paying a fee when they book online. So Airbnb charges the guest 12%, VRBO is I think in the 10, 15% range. So guests are used to paying some sort of fee whenever they book online. So our fee is lower. The difference there is we process the payment. So we provide you a payment processor in-house. You don't have to connect a payment processor. You connect a bank account to us, and then we send you your payout. We screen everybody through a tool called AutoHost, and then we provide $5 million of damage protection through a company called Superhog. So we provide you damage protection, guest screening, and payment processing for a lower cost. The guests do pay a small fee. So that's the main difference. So hosts that are okay with charging the guest a small fee because they're used to paying it anyway when they come from Airbnb or VRBO, the premium version is typically the better option because it's all done for you. Everything is included. You don't have to set up other systems on the side. If you don't want to charge your guest anything, which I totally understand, and I can't argue with that, then the basic version would be the better option. And then if you wanted to screen guests, have damage protection, then you would have those systems set up outside of Hospitable and manage those processes. So I'll kind of show you what a reservation looks like for a guest that has come through the direct booking system, where they've been screened and everything that comes through. So for instance, this is a recent guest, or this is an upcoming guest for me, Becky. She booked through my direct booking website. You can see auto host approved the guest. So she actually instantly booked the property, which I have set up for my direct booking website. And you can see everything here. So you can go to the guest verification link if you want to see exactly what Becky had to go through to verify her account. I've got all her information. We've got some social icons. They applied a risk level of yellow, and they kind of give you the risks and why that is the case. So the first one was the guest name on the ID does not match the reservation. I think the reason for this is because the name on her ID is Rebecca, not Becky. So it was not really a risk for me, but I understand why they would include that there. Number of guests might be incorrect given the size of the property. So this property sleeps 4 people. She noted 2 people on the reservation. It doesn't bother me. And again, guest name on the reservation does not match their name on the ID. We talked about that. Weekend reservation. I'm in a location where most of my reservations fall on the weekend, so this doesn't bother me at all. And then a 2-night reservation, there's some potential for concern. Again, most of my reservations are in the 2 to 3 night range, so I wasn't really worried about that. So I was okay with Becky booking this stay. So you can see again here, her name is Rebecca Brandstatter, which is why her ID failed. And you can see, I'm not going to click on this, but you'll be able to see the uploaded ID and the uploaded picture that Becky sent through the guest vetting portal so that you can know all the information about your guest and feel comfortable accepting that reservation or letting them continue to stay if it was an instant book. And then again, this reservation is covered for $5 million of damage protection. The way our payout method works for direct, if you are using the direct premium, which is where you connect a bank account to us, we process the payment. That reservation, this is the one right here, it's scheduled to come to me, I think it probably by next week. So it's very similar to how Airbnb processes payments. So you don't get the payout for Airbnb reservations until that guest is checked into the property. It's exactly the same way through Hospitable. So we want to make sure that's a confirmed stay. We're not going to have to issue a refund for that guest. So we hold on to that money until we know that that is the case. And then we issue you a payout to your payout account, which is your bank account.
Okay, and just an additional question from me. So it sounds that the premium is much better, just for the insurance there, and also for all the extra stuff. It sounds really worth it. And for instance, if someone doesn't want to, let's say if it's a guest and I don't want to have him charge an extra fee, I'll just take that off as a discount, and that's fine. Can any bank connect to it? Could it be an international bank, or is it only US?
So the direct premium is only offered in the US, in the UK, and then in Australia currently. So we're currently working on other areas around the world, but currently it's only in the US, UK, and Australia.
Okay, thank you so much. And I think I saw there's a couple more questions there in the chat.
Yeah. So I think Brandy has some questions. Brandy, can you elaborate on how the program screens the guests before allowing booking? Yeah, I'm not sure if that was, we just kind of went through that. If we did, and I don't mind going through it again. But what happens is we'll just kind of go back to Becky. So we'll pick on Becky a little bit. Becky booked the property online. Immediately after she books, she gets a link sent to her phone. So that's sent through AutoHost, and that's this link right here. And you can always see the link that the guest had to go through. So Becky got that link. She has to input information about herself, about her reservation. She has to upload a picture of herself. She has to upload her ID, and then that's how they check to see if the name was different. If, for instance, the person who uploaded their ID was a different person than this guest, I probably would have had some pause. I might have called them to see what was going on. I might have just canceled their reservation if I felt uncomfortable with it. Keep in mind, this isn't like Airbnb, where if you cancel a reservation, they're going to charge you money and penalize you heavily. And this is your own direct booking website. So you as the host need to feel comfortable. So if for some reason you're not comfortable with the reservation, definitely reach out to the guest, try to get some more information. And if you feel uncomfortable, then cancel the stay, and that's okay. But that's the kind of the vetting process. So it applied specific risk factors associated with the stay based on what we just went through a minute ago. I was okay with these risk factors, and her ID was the same name as what was submitted through the reservation, and that's totally okay with that. Plus, I asked guests information about their reservation, like why they're coming to book, who are they, what are they going to be in town for, how many people, that sort of stuff. So she provided that, and I was absolutely fine with accepting that reservation. Brandy, can you share if using your payment processing when a past guest attempts a chargeback, what process is used to determine whether that is approved or denied? Can you share if you're using a payment process? I can't really provide too much information on that. So I don't really know how the chargeback system works, um, especially for our payment processor. So like our internal payment processing system, like what exactly like would constitute a chargeback, and what is determined whether it's approved or denied. I don't really know how that works too well, Brandy. Apologies about that.
And we had another question on Facebook. Someone is asking if he's only on Airbnb. Once he sets up, first of all, he saw on somewhere else that the PMS goes in, takes all the information from Airbnb, and then pushes it to, for instance, to booking.com or VRBO. He wanted to know if Hospitable does the same.
We don't. So we don't have, I consider that called like a listing distribution or a listing management feature. We don't have that feature built into our system. So in order to connect those listings to us, you would need to have a listing on the different platforms. So if you wanted to be listed on Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking.com, you would go to each individual channel, create that listing, and then you can connect them to us. I will say VRBO, Airbnb is really simple to create listings typically. VRBO is slightly more difficult. Booking.com is a lot more difficult, in my opinion, anyway. Um, those services, VRBO and Booking.com, do allow you to create a new listing based on an Airbnb listing. So they try to make it easier on us as hosts to create new listings really easily. So you can create your Airbnb like you already have, then go to VRBO, use their, I think it's called Fast Start or Quick Start. And it's kind of similar with Booking.com. Just upload your URL to your Airbnb listing, and they'll create a new listing for you based on that.
Okay, and another person wanted to know how fast do calendars synchronize? They already had it happened to them a couple of times having a double booking. They're not using a PMS system. So they wanted to know how fast do calendars usually synchronize?
Got it. Good question. So we're connected to the OTAs via what's called API. So it should be fast and reliable. So typically, I think what you were probably doing in the past was you had iCal links from different OTAs connected to each other in this like web of iCal links. And that's iCals are fine. They do a fine job, but they can be slow and unreliable. An API connection means we're directly integrated with Airbnb, with VRBO, and Booking.com. So if a reservation comes through on one channel, we'll automatically go in and block off that time frame on any other connected channel, and it'll happen immediately.
Okay, perfect. If anybody has any questions, now's the time to post them in the chat.
I will say one thing before everybody kind of takes
Yes.
off or before we end. I, I'm going to give you guys my email. I'm just going to put that in the chat. So if you have any questions afterward, or if there's something you didn't want to ask here, you can always send it to me, and I'd be happy to answer those questions for you. And also, we do free onboarding for all new hosts. So if you decide at some point that you want to sign up with Hospitable and that's a fit for you, you can always email me directly, and I'd be happy to do your onboarding for you.
And we have another question in the chat.
Yep. So Brandy, can you share the cost of the two programs? So with hospital, so the direct booking is $5 or $8 per month, depending on which system you chose. That's the only add-on we have. Everything else with Hospitable is a flat fee based on how many properties you have. And that includes everything we covered before we got to direct bookings. So all the automation for messaging, locks, cleaners, connected devices, integrations, anything like that. So it's $40, includes the first two properties. So if you have one, if you have two, it's still $40. And then after that, it's $8 per month per property. So three is 48, four is 56, and so on. Once you hit 10, it drops to $7. There's a price break at 20, that drops to $6. So if you have more properties, it's cheaper per property. And then we have I call it a seasonality discount built into the pricing, where we only charge you for properties that had a check-in within the previous 30 days. So everybody pays $40, which is the base fee for Hospitable. If you have more than two properties and you have seasonal market where maybe certain months of the year you have no bookings, or you're using properties for personal use part of the time and they're blocked out, then you wouldn't pay full price all year round. So what we do when we do your billing, we look back over the previous billing period. We look at which properties had a check-in, which properties didn't. If one of your properties didn't have a check-in, we consider that an inactive property and it doesn't count toward your billing. So 40 is the least that anybody would pay with one or two properties. And then again, $8 per month per property after that. Becca, the direct booking is not available on a standalone. So you'd have to use Hospitable if you wanted to use the direct booking system. And Brady, yes, we do integrate with Price Labs. We integrate with Price Labs, Beyond, and Wheelhouse, and a number of other pricing tools if you wanted to branch out and try something different.
Okay. And someone is asking online on Facebook if I'm not sure if the pricing also is sent out to all, if it's integrated, if the prices are integrated within all the different Booking.com, VRBO, and Airbnb from Hospitable.
Yeah. So I think maybe what they're asking, and maybe this isn't, but so like kind of piggybacking off Brandy's question with integrating with Price Labs. So if you integrate with a pricing tool, that connects to us. They're going to send us the pricing daily. So they're going to send us the new pricing every day. We're going to then in turn add that pricing to your OTAs. So we're going to send that to Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking.com and your direct booking website for you. So we're essentially the hub that kind of connects all the listings together and connects the tools together. If you're using a pricing tool, if you're not using a pricing tool and you want to edit your pricing in Hospitable, you can do that in the calendar. So that was toward the beginning of the call, we kind of edited the pricing for this property. So I'll just go back and change the pricing. So you can make pricing changes in the calendar that are going to change across the board. So every listing you have connected to us, whether it's Airbnb, VRB, or Booking.com, you can change the pricing directly in the calendar here. And there's also a feature we have called markup rates. Markup rate is a pretty cool feature to be able to get a different nightly rate from a specific guest on a specific booking channel. So the Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking.com charge us as hosts specific fees for the guest to book, right? So 3% on Airbnb, 8% on VRBO. I think Booking is about 15%. So if my guest goes to Airbnb, I want to make sure that if a guest books on VRBO, I'm going to make the same amount of money. So if my nightly rate is $100, if the guest books on VRBO, they're going to pay 108. If they book on Airbnb, they're going to pay 103. So ultimately, I net $100. So there's a way to set markups within the system so that the prices can fluctuate depending on where the guest is actually booking, but you still earn the same amount of money.
Okay, perfect. And I think another thing you can use the markup, I just thought about it now. Tell me if I'm right. If let's say I want to create promotions on Airbnb, let's say 20%, so I can always mark up the price here, and then with a 20% off on Airbnb, would that work?
It should theoretically. I mean, yeah. So any change you make in the calendar or any change you make for your Airbnb pricing is going to come from us to Airbnb. So it should change your pricing, your daily rate on Airbnb, and then whatever custom promotion you have should, alter that daily rate.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Brian. And we have a referral link for anybody who's interested. It gives you 2 weeks free and 25% off for the first 3 months. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you for your time.
Thank you all. I appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great day, and email me if anybody has any questions. I'm happy to help anytime.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Bye.